I'm not someone who grew up religious, but, if people or anyone who wants to come through and share messages comes to me and asks me, and the messages are of like a high vibration, I'm there to share the messages. Um, and so, Jesus has been working with me a lot with the librarians, the Akashic Record Keepers. And I have other friends who channel him. We all channel the kind of messages we can vibrationally connect with. So I channel stories because that's what I connect with. Other people channel messages of love or this or that, and I channel history, I channel stories. I channel life stories. I'm an Akashic Record Healer. That makes sense. I'm going to take a moment, get through it, and then, sorry, I'm all twitchy. Mary Magdalene will come through first, and then Jesus will come through. So let's do this. Okay. It'll take me a moment just to. All right, come on in. Oh, my divine and delightful brothers and sisters, my children, my darling friends. I'm so heartfelt with my joy to be here with you today. I wish to share with you some stories of my life and how my husband and I were connected as one. As many of you know, my father was a very powerful, wealthy man. Through my childhood, I wanted for nothing, and I had many benefits, many opportunities. My father could deny me nothing. And what I wanted more than anything was adventure, travel, education. I was a natural teacher. Even as a child, I was asking the blacksmith and the woodworker how they did their work. And then I would show my brother and sister who were less likely than I to travel into the town and the village. I would read books. I was voracious. I demanded tutors. I loved to play instruments, sing, and dance. My childhood was truly wonderful. And this makes sense because it was my life's path to have a very high vibrational message. And for this purpose, I needed a childhood that would support with this. And when I met with my beloved, it was so good that I had all the money we could need, all the connections we could hope for to help the two of us as we built our school and shared our joint message of love and the divine. When I was a young woman, I left our home and traveled to Jerusalem to study. It was forbidden for me, a woman, to study with the men in the schools. But there were places with enough money, you can get what you want. And I had many tutors who would come to me in my home, where I and a few friends, mostly young men who could not afford to attend the schools, or a few girlfriends who were kind to me and wished to be with me so that I would not feel alone. We learned a great deal. We asked questions, always ask questions. We thirsted for adventure. We would walk through the streets without chaperone. You can imagine what people said of me when they saw me, a lady of distinction, walking through the streets by myself, no chaperone, and speaking on educated matters, insisting that I attend meetings. You know what they said of me, because when a woman stands in her power, fully in the core of her power, and she knows herself and will not be swayed, there are always those who wish to knock her down. The divine feminine, they say, is meant to support the male. This is not true. The divine feminine creates the male and creates an environment that he may plant his roots into and grow, but it is not our job to water and prune and prop up this man. It is our job to give him the tools that he may stand as a man in his own right, while we stand as a woman in our own right. This is as God intends us to be. This is as our Divine Mother created us. So yes, I was called many names, but I know myself as I knew myself then, and I know what name I hold in my heart, and that is purity and thirst for adventure. You can imagine the moment, the first moment when I met my beloved. Of course, I had heard his name. He was speaking, he was teaching. He let anyone come to his schools, and his schools were wherever he happened to be, as he learned in the yogic tradition during his travels. Oh my. I went and I watched him speak. He was speaking about love, taking the love from your heart, filling your brain with the love, letting this love heal your thoughts, and then using your brain. He was speaking so brilliantly that I stood with tears pouring down my face as this man, this funny man, was laughing and speaking of the purity of being through love, the importance of taking your heart and sending it to your brain before you think. Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. After everyone was gone, I waited, I watched as each person spoke with him. I saw people come up to him and tell him as though they were children. They were so excited about how much fun and pride they had with the exercises they were practicing that he was giving them. I saw men of importance stand beside men of no means, stand beside women, stand beside people of color. There was everyone in one space, and all shared the vibration of this profound message to feel love before you think. So simple. And yet, I had never heard such a thing before. I cry now, even remembering this moment. At that moment, I knew this man was my heart. At that moment, the first moment, I suspected there was a reason why I had to hear him speak. When everyone had left, I walked to him. The tears were still pouring down my face. My clothing was drenched, and my sleeve, I had been wiping my face, blowing my nose. I walked to him, and I took my little purse about my waist that was filled with coins and miscellaneous items for purchasing. It was not much to me, but certainly it was a great deal. At that time in my life, my concept of money expense was immature. And I took my purse and I put it at his feet. And he said, "No, you do not grovel at the feet of anyone. Why are you at mine?" I said, "I have never met anyone worth kneeling before until now." And he picked up the coin bag, and he took my hand and raised me up, put the bag in my hand, and said, "I cannot accept this unless you give it to me as equals, friend to friend, being to being, heart to heart." I took the bag and held it to my heart. And then I put it and held it to his heart, to his hands. You know the rest. We had a merry run of it. Together we built an actual school. The apostles were there. It was extraordinary. You know the final outcome. I am here to tell you, everyone who was with us was there at our request. Everything that happened by divine order. Everything was as we had planned it before we came to life. We were like actors playing our roles for a performance. And you, all of you then, through time, to all of you now, you are our audience. Of course, this is an audience participation interactive production. We created the scene. It is up to you to take it where you will. Some of your ancestors took it to dark places. Fine. They explored these frequencies and those in our name. We didn't appreciate it, but it was done. Now you are the performers, and I hope that you do better with the frequencies of vibrations of purity that my Lord created for us, and then we share with you. I will tell you, I am the person who started the first Christian school because it was my family's money, my money. I had much in my own right that created the home for Jesus and his teachings. When my husband left his body, as was by our agreement, I remained with our children, our family, our friends, and created the first school for women so that women would not be denied as I had been. The first school of Christian studies was of Jews and women. It was the first convent. You could live there if you wished, or you could come in when you wished. You paid what you could, you helped where you could. There was no expectations, because this was as my husband had wished it, and it was as I could afford. The first school that created the life of the divine word of my husband was birthed by women. We, the divine feminine, created. We gave all the tools. When my friend, my soulmate, my beloved, and I agreed to come to Earth for this large life, we discussed the different roles. He knew he wished to be male, divine masculine. It was my choice what role I wished to share with him. If I had been a man, I would have been crucified with him. Or, as our poor, dear, beloved friend Judith, persecuted thereafter. I had to be a woman. We needed the yin and yang. We needed the divine masculine, the divine feminine to create the new life. The energies were so powerful. Oh, I tell you, there were times that we looked and the energy in the room was so thick and colorful. And there were so many spirits and beings celebrating the work we were doing. Oh, it was divine. And this is something that you can have again. This was created by two people. And it can be created again if each of you together connects by your own right to that which powers you, your love, your grace, your guides and guardians. You connect to each other. You will have it again. I promise you. My beloved wishes to have his turn. I adore you. I adore you all. Friends, when I came into life, some help. Thank you. When I came into life, I was ignorant of whom I was, just as each of you. It was important for me to have the human experience. If I had been born knowing who I was and what was to come, I might have just run away. If I had been born with my abilities in full power and my understanding, how could I teach anyone? it was important that I have my journey, my quest to become the being, so that I could share the lessons and others could follow in my path behind me and walk beside me, and some even go on ahead. I tell you, I am not the most divine. I am not the most devout. There are others more than me, or as I am. But I am the one who chose to use this to create a mandala to heal the world. When I was young child, I didn't remember who I was, but I was peculiar, to say the least. I could see truth sharp and clear. My skills were heightened compared to my peers. One day I came home upset, dirty, scratched, bruised, my clothing torn, tears. My father said, "What happened?" I sat in his lap and I told him that the boys were making fun of me. It's not my fault that I can see their thoughts and feelings. I don't know how to react. Do I only respond to their words? Half the time their words don't even mean what they're trying to say. I was very confused and they made fun of me. They kicked me. The ribs. As I lay on the ground, threw rocks at me. I was 7 years old. I was a very skinny, small child. My father said to me, "Follow me." And he would not speak any words of comfort. I wished my mother was there. I followed my father to his studio, his workshop. He gave me a piece of wood. He gave me the lathe, chisels, sanding blocks. He said, "Create something." And he walked out of the room. I had already been assisting my father for several years and his apprentices. So I set to work. Made a very crude bowl. It was crude. But I was so proud of my work. All my focus went into my creating, my chiseling. It was not even, and it was not very deep. I had many scratches on it, but it had all my focus, all of my energy on this thing. I was amazed with my skills and abilities. Some hours later, I showed this to my father with such pride. And my father said, "What's this? A masterpiece?" I said, I made this. I made this myself. I made this all by myself. I looked at him. He looked on me with such pride and respect. I could see the love shining from him like a star. And he said to me, "Who are you?" I said, "I am your son." And he said, "No, who are you?" I said, "I'm me." And he said, "Who are you?" And he said, "This is who I am. I am the person who made this, and I am the person who feels this." And he said, "Yes." And I said, "But what about those boys?" And he said, "Try not to get beaten up. But look what you did with the energy that those boys gave you." That was when I learned. My father and I talked long and seriously about this subject, not just then, but many times in our life. You cannot control other people. You cannot control what they think or feel or say about you. What you can do is be true to yourself, and whatever energy they give you, you use it as you wish to use this. My father taught me this lesson, and it served me well throughout my life. In general, I had a very good childhood. I was peculiar, but I learned to see the best in people. And then when people were around me, they felt their best. That's the benefit of being peculiar. I learned not to worry about anything beyond what was my concern. And then to send love without concern. These were lessons from my father, from my mother. I also learned many lessons. These lessons as well, but she focused on looking at each detail as though it was the only detail and giving it the respect it deserved because it existed. She would say if each person is alive, each person who is alive should receive respect because they are alive. They have given themselves the challenge of life. Respect them for that. Learn their stories. Each person has a magnificent story to share, and that story is their life. Respect them for that. She said, if you are to respect each person, respect each insect, each goat, each bird, each plant. Each speck of dust has a story to tell. You will see a piece of dirt. Once upon a time, that dirt was part of a rock that eroded, or a tree that disintegrated, or an animal that rotted and returned to earth and changed the soil that absorbed it. Each speck in your existence is a story. We would sit for hours or walk for hours, telling each other the stories of the most peculiar things we saw. This was helpful to me because I learned that nothing is as it was, and nothing will be as it is now. a profound lesson to receive from one's mother while holding on to the hem of her skirt. I wish to talk to you for a moment I'm off task, but my dear friend Judith, the most good, noble-hearted man of my existence, of many of my lives, even now, his goodness reigns upon me. By the time I was at the end of my life, I had so much purity and light shining. Only those of the greatest goodness could bear to be around me. When I would teach, there would be people walking in the streets, not even hearing my words or seeing me. They may even put their hand like this to walk past because there's some bright light there that's bothering their eyes. It was my destiny to become this high of a vibration, this light of a being. But do you imagine, with my bride to my right and my friend to my left, that either of them could have been anything less than the most wonderful, the most pure of people to be so close to me, to be with me? My brother, Judas, was my best, most noble friend to the very end and beyond. When it came time for my crucifixion, by that time, of course, I was connected. I knew everything about my story and what was waiting for me. There was no question. My dear friend Judith offered to take my place. He offered to disguise himself with my energy and take my place so that I may live the rest of my life with my beloved bride and children. And I said to him, no, this is my story. There is no turning back from this. Oh, we argued, we debated. There were times when we even threw things because our love for each other was so powerful that neither of us could stand to see the other hurt, even though we both knew. Both of us, by then, we knew all our past lives. We were in constant connection with our higher selves. We were not frightened. We just wanted the best for each other. Also, there was that one small glitch that none of us had expected or prepared for. My vibration was so high, those who were not of the noble heart could not even see me. They couldn't even come near me. The Romans would send the guards to find me. Whenever the guards would come within 2-3 hectares of me, they would turn and walk away, thinking they were going to find me. We spent weeks, months with this ridiculous game. Judas was determined. He said, they will not find you, but they can find me. We were reaching a timeline. Things had to happen. Because there were more energies and mandalas occurring and more beings assisting than humans have ever truly. Some of you understand. But Mary Magdalene, love to call her that name, my beloved, suggested we set 2 timelines. One where my brother goes to the cross, and the other where I go to the cross. And we will let the energies of reality determine which one sticks. So we did. In the first timeline, my brother, Judas, took my place, hung upon the cross. And everything happened as it should, because I and my family had gone to the hills, and I connected my energy to my brother in the Christ consciousness manda, and the Christ crystalline manda came to be. I stayed with my bride as she created her school. My being had become so light that very few people could even see me. I was often not even in my body. And my brother Judas, he joined us in his non-corporal body. The 2 of us were non-physical much of the time, leaving Mary, of course, to do all the work. But we created the vibration. In the other timeline, I sat for 3 days and I contained my vibration within myself. And then my brother Judas took me by the hand. I couldn't even see because I was so internally focused. He took me by the hand and led me to the guards, where I was crucified, as we had originally planned. All those who were crucified with me were people, souls, beings from other dimensions, extraordinary people and beings and souls who had agreed to be in this place with me to create the mandalas, to heal the planet. And my brother Judas smuggled my family and our students to safety, where my bride created her school. My brother Judas spent most of his time in meditation, in a cave on a mountain, but often coming in helping my bride with her school. And I was there as well. I was done with my body. I was happy for my soul to be there with my family. You see, no matter how we played it, all came to the same. We healed the planet. We brought full love to the planet. We raised the vibration so that everyone was in the resonance of love and higher. What happened to my work afterwards? That was all in your hands. And it is still in your hands. My beloved said, fill yourself with love. Connect with your friends and guides. You think you're alone here? No. If you were to look out there in the cosmos, you would see so many friends of yours, guides, mentors who are waiting for you to reach up your hands and ask for help. Then they will send you the love, everything you need to heal your planet again. We did it. And now we are here with you to help you to do this. Which among you will take our hands, will raise yourself up and send the love? create a new mandala, a mandala of cosmic love, of oneness, total being. This is for you. We challenge you. It is time for me to leave. Remember, we are each and every one of us beings of love. I share my heart with you. Blessed be. Oh, wow. Little woozy. Okay, well, thank you